through 124 naturally on Earth, someplace in Africa, through spectral, technology. I don't know. Leave it out there with you.
I've never heard that, and I would think that would be some of the biggest news in the scientific community. I've never heard a whisper of it. Have you, John or George?
No, that's impossible. Not on Earth. It has to be a solar system.
Well, he said it came in on a meteorite. So.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe we'll have to look for that that article and see what the origin of the story is.
But for it to be stable and have a handful of it in a meteorite, I have my doubts that that's probably accurate. But maybe maybe there's a piece of truth there, and it's just a little mixed up.
Thanks, Davis. Appreciate it. West of the Rockies, Dale from here in Las Vegas. Hi, Dale.
Hi. I was just wondering, I've read the stories about the flying saucer that Bob Lazar observed, and I'm wondering, where are they now? And if the government has them, why wouldn't they use them? Because I can imagine all kinds of good uses for them. Where do you think they are?
John, do you think they're at the new Area 51 you were talking about?
They're probably at the new Area 51. I don't think they'd use them. They're very careful with, what they do with them. I don't think that we use them for, going anywhere or transporting. I think they're still studying them.
And if they can glean any technology from it, they're going to use it on a craft or in any capacity that would look normal to any Earthling. If they don't fly the craft themselves, if they learn something from the craft that can be used in another craft of a more acceptable shape, so you could operate it in broad daylight without being under suspicion, that is probably what they do.
Who knows? They might be using them for something they haven't told us about. I suppose if you used them for example, in a war, in a theater of war.
The technology that Bob worked on with those flying saucers is certainly far advanced. We have our own anti-grav technology, which we developed between 1953 and 1955. My father was a major contractor on that development, and through his company Lear Incorporated. So, we had anti-grav, a form of it, in 1955. That's why you never see anything in the news on how we're progressing on anti-grav. We already have it, but it's a secret.
I guess the danger would be if you use it like in a war and somebody it's shot down, then you got some explaining to do. Thanks, Dale. Thanks for the call. First-time caller Robert in Arizona. Hi, Robert.
Hey, Mr. Knapp and your guest, good evening to you. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure thing.
In 2004, when Bob Lazar was on Coast to Coast Radio with Art Bell, the night he talked about Element 115, he mentioned at the last of the hour of the interview, and before they went on the news break, and nobody ever did a follow-up on this, but he said that when Element 115 was, before it was fired up in the reactor, he said that a gas was introduced into the reactor. In the next hour when calls were taken, nobody ever asked what that gas was. Now,
the gas was just the matter that the antimatter interacts with. It's put in a tuned tube. The antimatter, like I know this, I'm just saying this is as Bob has told me in the past. After the 115 is bombarded, this is all a closed system. The 115 is bombarded, turns to 116. It decays, releases antimatter. The antimatter travels down a tuned tube, meaning, I guess, what's a tuned tube? Whatever forces, magnetism, electromagnetic, so it doesn't explode because the tube itself is made out of matter, okay? So it travels down a tuned tube, and it interacts, the matter that it interacts with to cause the antimatter matter explosion from which the heat is turned to electricity, that matter is gas. That's what the gas is. So I don't think I don't know what gas that was. It could be hydrogen, it could be anything. It's just that's the matter target that the antimatter explodes with.
Does that answer your question, Robert? Robert's gone. We're going to move on. Our wild card line, Roland in Boise, Idaho. How you doing, Roland? Hello, Roland. Are you there?
I'm here, George.
What's on your mind?
Well, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
And I'm proud to say that I've read transcripts of all your interviews with Bob Lazar over the years, and so I've kind of started this back in the late 70s. And basically I'm calling to defend his position. Lazar's position that he's a tech head guy, not a politician. So he knows his tech. One of the things that I wanted to bring up was that if there's standalone energy production, like Bob indicates with the technology, what would that do to the world of economics today? When you look at ExxonMobil, who's produced record profits more than any other company and any other industry ever over the past year or so, these people would not want a standalone energy producer that can power cars, electric for homes and factories. They've got a good thing going, and they're not going to allow the status quo to be disrupted. So that's why I'm saying that when you see some of the movies where people's identities are all messed up and credit cards are deleted and things like that, these people have the power to do that, and I think that's exactly what they've done to Bob Lazar. But would either John or
Gene?
Mr. Huff care to expound on how this standalone energy might affect our world of economics today?
John, you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, of course, it would everything would collapse if we were able to use all that. It's the same thing with oil. Oil is abiogenic, which means it's self-produced. It's not made of dead dinosaurs. There's plenty of oil all over the place. We have the greatest reserves of oil under the United States. It's just they want us to think that that we've peaked oil and that we're running out and that we've got to be careful. That's all baloney. We've got all the oil that we need.
George, I would just say I think this gentleman's right. I mean, the essence of that is where there are people, there are problems. There's greed and other concerns, and so yes, something fantastic that could be a wonder for all of us to grasp and enjoy in our lives could very well be kept from us because of greed, as tragic as that is. So I think he's absolutely right.
Well, if it's real, if the technology exists and we've got it, that might be a very plausible reason for the cover-up, is just not to upset the economic apple cart. Thanks for the call, Roland. Wildcard 2 line, Bill in Texas. Hi, Bill.
Hey, George. How you doing?
Okay.
Wonderful show tonight.
Thanks.
Yeah, I have a comment and a question for your guest. Earlier I was listening to, several years ago, I guess, and they were talking about when Jackie Gleason went to Homestead Air Force Base with President Nixon at the time to view dead alien bodies.
That's the story.
And anyway, just as a curiosity feature, I was stationed there about that time. Of course, I didn't see any dead alien bodies, but there were some. There was one story of the southern Miami area and Homestead Air Force Base being hovered over by UFOs 2 particular nights, and they sent aircraft up to investigate. And I don't know what became of that. But anyway, I did get on Google and Googled that and checked that because I was unaware of Jackie Gleason going down there to check that out. But I found that very interesting. And my question is, what do your guests feel as to 2012? What do you think? What do they think might happen, if anything at all? And I'll hang up and listen to the responses. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.
Let me take that. It's sheer baloney. There is no Planet X. There is no Nibiru. And if there is, it's not going to cause any problem. Whoever is running the show here wants to keep us in a state of anxiety and worry, and the world's going to end. But all that's baloney.
By the way, if
you come and go, just like every other day that's been.
By the way, if you read, if you're referring to Nibiru and the Anunnaki from Zecharia Sitchin, if you read Zecharia Sitchin's new last book of that Earth Chronicles series, End of Days, I got some bad news for people like me who were hoping that it would be close enough. First of all, if the gods of Eden, they don't need to wait for Nibiru to get back here. They could fly here if they just wanted to come here. So they don't need to wait if that planet exists in a comet 3,600-year orbit around our sun. Though the Anunnaki do not need to wait until it gets close so they could visit the Earth. Certainly, if they had that type of technology thousands of years ago, they certainly have it now. And secondly, the way Sitchin has that orbit figured is it's not going to be in the same proximity to the Earth as it was 2,000 years ago till like the year 2900. So in 2012, if you're basing that on the Zecker